Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of the Alt Pulse podcast.
I'm Laura.
I'm Rob. We're here for the final time this year to talk to you about our experiences with music in the rock, alternative and metal scene.
Yes, because today we're going to be sort of doing our end of year rundown, awards, whatever you want to call it. Just a summary of the end of the year. We're just going to be going through our favourite albums from 2024, what our favourite gigs were this year, and many more topics to discuss.
Yes. So I think right off the top we can say that 2024 has been a hell of a year for music.
Absolutely. It's been phenomenal for gigs mainly, I would say. It was really difficult for me to figure out what my favourite gig was of this year, I'll be honest.
Yeah, well, we're getting into that. I mean, we're obviously going for all this from our own personal perspective. We can go on about how the year's been for bands like Gojira and Not Loose and all this. But
yeah.
We figured, because it's our channel, we personalise it for our own.
For sure.
So we're going to start off, we're going to launch straight into it with Gig of the Year.
Yes.
Now, we should specify that we have a few categories here.
Yes.
We've got Gig of the Year, Festival of the Year, Set of the Year, Song of the Year, Discovery of the Year, EP of the Year, Album of the Year, which we're going to go very in-depth
Yeah,
into.
that's like the big one, so...
And finally, our ones to watch in 2025 and our hopes, plans / predictions for next year.
Yes.
So just to differentiate between Gig of the Year and Set of the Year, because it was your idea kind of...
Yes, so basically, shout out to the Ragamuffins for this one as well, because they've been doing this sort of thing for a while.
Oh, 100%.
It's kind of where I've gotten some inspiration from. But the way that I'm differentiating a gig from a set is that the gig is pretty much a standalone gig that we've been to, and it pretty much covers the whole package of the evening or the day.
Including support bands.
And including support bands, all that stuff. Whereas a set can include sets from festivals that we've been to.
Should we start with you then, Bev?
Yes, so I do have a couple of honorary mentions. As I said earlier, this category was pretty hard for me to sort of knuckle down the top
it's hard
three.
for both of us.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, we've been to a lot of shows this year.
We have. And obviously we only started vlogging on this channel back in May. So my two honorary mentions are actually gigs that weren't in any vlogs.
No.
So my first honourable mention for the year is Vukovi at the Electric Ballroom. This was back in March with support from Knife Bride, who I may be talking about later, and Encore. And the reason it's an honorary mention is because Vukovi are a pretty special band to me, and the Electric Ballroom gig, they performed Nula in full, which was their album that came out in 2022. And it was just a really special evening, a monumental one for the band, but didn't quite make my gig of the year. And my second honourable mention is, another, as I say, it's another gig that we didn't vlog, but it's Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes at the Roundhouse, and this was back in February, and the supports were the Mysterines and Hot Wax. And the reason it's an honourable mention is because, I love Frank Carter. This was my first time seeing Frank Carter. The Roundhouse is becoming one of my favourite venues in London. And it was a really, really cool evening, and there was a lot of good highlights from that gig, but again, didn't quite make
the
favourite.
cut. I mean, I enjoyed that gig immensely as well, but
yeah.
It almost was kind of a swan song as well for Frank, really.
Pretty much, yeah.
Because since then the Rattlesnakes have broken up. We did see him at Download as well.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, if the made in retrospect feel a little bit that
It was
extra
just
special,
really special, yeah. So, my number 3 pick is going to be Fit for an Autopsy at the Electric Brixton.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is a quite recent one, so I don't know whether that's the reason why I've slotted it in here last moment, but the more I thought about this gig and how incredible the lineup was, the more I thought that I had to shout it out again. Obviously, we did a vlog on it. You can go check it out. But, you had Harriet opening up, then we had Darkest Hour. We had Fit for an Autopsy and Silosis also, sort of co-headlining the evening, if you want. But yeah, I had a fantastic night. And I think just that whole evening as a collective kind of made me realise, oh, wait a minute, this was pretty good. So
it was pretty spectacular, yeah. That was just in terms of how stacked the lineup was as well.
Yeah. So then we go on to my number 2 pick, and there is a good reason why as to I think this might have just missed the top spot. But yeah, number 2 for me was Korn at Gunnersbury Park. And the reason I put this as my number 2, I mean, it's Korn. for one. Again, it was another band that this year I've finally seen for the first time. Spirit Box were there, who are one of my favourite bands of recent years. Loathe were also there, who put on a great set. But I think, sorry for any fans of Wargasm, but I think if they weren't on the lineup, this would probably be my favourite. Yeah. But no, it was a fantastic day. I think, again, maybe the only reason why it's not got the top spot is because of us getting out of Gunnersbury Park. It was a little bit of a nightmare.
That's true, yeah. It was, I don't know if I want to go back there again.
Yeah, it's going to be special.
As much as I liked the day, because it was so sunny.
Yeah.
And the vibes were just great, and we were hanging out with Laura and Jamie and Simon as well, and Chids.
Yeah.
Just getting out was
it was
exhausting.
A little bit of a pain. Yeah.
Almost as bad as Liam Gallagher at Nebworth.
Yeah, that's a story for another day.
That's definitely a story for another day.
But for me personally, my gig of the year was a gig that we didn't vlog. And again, this was back in February. Tesseract at the Kentish Town Forum. That venue alone is just, probably one of my favourites in London. I think it is at this point, I'll be honest. But the whole evening, you had the Callous Dow Boys opening up. That we then had Unprocessed, who, again, spoiler, I might be talking about later. They were both phenomenal supports that evening. And then Tesseract themselves, just, my God, they're such an incredible band. We've seen them a few times between us at this point. But Dan is just such an incredible frontman. Mm-hmm. The whole band as a collective is just incredible. And I have a lot of good memories of that night. The reason that
one bit in particular.
One bit in particular. So for anyone who doesn't know, I have to wear glasses because I'm blind. I lost my glasses, my original gig glasses, as I used to call them, at this gig. Thanks to the crowd surfers. The crowd were just insane.
The plentiful amount of crowd surfers, for sure, yeah.
Literally, I lost them because the guy who I lifted, it kind of like my glasses hooked onto their leg. And by the time I realised, they'd already gone over the barrier. And at the end of the show, we found the lens on the floor, and we found one of my arms of the glasses just completely torn off.
I think I remember I found I found another pair of glasses or something.
But it wasn't mine.
It wasn't yours, but it just goes to show how. I mean, I'll talk about it briefly as well in my list, but just how much pandemonium was at that show.
Honestly, regardless of that, and even though I couldn't see the whole band for the last half an hour or so of the set because I was blinded, it was still a fantastic evening. And Tesseract are just one of those bands, even though prog is a difficult category of rock and metal for me to enjoy, Tesseract just nail it on the head. And I really enjoy them. So
right, so my gigs of the year now. And again, like you, I've got a few honourable mentions.
Yes.
Some of which never made it to vlog status because this preceded our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Firstly, I'd like to mention the cover-ups. Now, if you don't know the cover-ups, this is Billy Joe Armstrong and Jason White from Green Day's cover band. I went with Sam, who you would have seen in the Green Day vlog, my bandmate, who's obsessed with Green Day. And it was just a really fun evening. It was the first time I saw the Love Breakers, who will be coming up later on in the podcast. And just a really surreal evening to have Billy Joe be that close, proximity-wise, to my face,
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, we were standing a few yards, in the centre of the venue, kind of. But it was just a great evening. They did, loads of great... They covered the Clash, they covered the Ramones, the Misfits... and then to top it all off, they brought Courtney Love out for a couple of songs.
I wasn't there, but I remember when you told me about that, I was like, wow.
It was so surreal. I was going to the gents, and as I was kind of coming back out, along with several other blokes, they're like, oh yeah, Courtney Love's here apparently. I'm like, really? Well, it's taking the piss. And then lo and behold, there she turned up, and
they
did a couple of songs together. I can't remember exactly what, but... that was just a really special evening. Just getting to see these, these guys who I've admired for so long, and you definitely have not heard the last of in this podcast.
Yes.
Up close and personal with my Green Day obsessed mate. That's definitely up there. Next up, another honourable mention, Crowbar at Crawford Arms. Just if you don't know Crowbar, they're one of my favourite kind of sludge metal bands of that kind of just all riffs, you know. Kirk Winstein is an absolute riff machine.
Mm-hmm.
It always sounds like he's eating he's eating a bowl of cornflakes with razor blades for breakfast every morning. And we got to meet him after the gig as well.
Yeah.
That was really, really cool.
It was really cool. And was Crowbar at Bloodstock the first time you saw them as well?
They were, yeah.
Yeah, so we saw them at Bloodstock in 2023, and we both really, really enjoyed them. And obviously you knew of them anyway, but like I only heard of them through you when we first started going out.
But partly because it was such a local gig, it was like, oh, cool, Crowbar's playing so local to me. And Inhuman Nature were the support.
One of the supports,
along with Abraxan, who I also became quite fond of after that.
Mm.
So in terms of the lineup, that was really, really cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, honourable mention, I can't really do an honourable mention or a mention of Gig of the Year without including my boys.
Of course.
So that's Puppy at Blondie's Brewery, which I can say now, I think. I discovered one of my favourite bands of the year at that gig, supporting them.
Spoilers.
Which, again, we'll get into later. Yeah, really, really cool evening, really, really cool venue. Final honourable mention, Crosses at Kentish Town Forum.
Mm-hmm.
Just, again, I think just going back to the Crowbar and cover-up thing, just seeing a band of that magnitude, a front man of that magnitude, in Chino Moreno up that close and personal will never not be cool to me.
Yeah, we got an amazing
even though I saw actual Deftones at Kentish Town Forum a few years ago, just after their download set.
Yeah.
It still will never. I'll still never not get a kick out of the fact that he's in the same building as me. With the bulk of that out of the way, we'll get on to my list. So at number 3. This might be a surprising one to a few people, considering we didn't vlog this one either.
Yeah,
this was super early in the year.
This was like one of our first gigs of the year.
Yeah, but you know, we started this year with the means to go on, which was in a deliriously brilliant state, and it's seeing Ginger Wildheart at Esquires do an acoustic show. He did pretty much a small kind of local.
All around the UK.
Tour, all around the UK.
Yeah.
Just performing Wildheart songs.
Mm.
And the great thing, the most unique thing about this, and I think I can't say I've been to many gigs, if any gigs, that have been like this, particularly from a guy who's so well renowned.
Yeah.
Every song was just made up on the spot.
It was, yeah.
Literally, he didn't have a set list at all, and that was just a really special evening, really unique, idiosyncratic special evening.
For sure.
You know. Number 2, I'm going to have to echo you with Tesseract at Kentish Town Forum. Really, really special evening. All the bands killed it.
Yeah.
Even Callous Dowboys, who I'm not actually particularly a fan of. It's not really my cup of tea music-wise. Just had so much energy. And then came Unprocessed, who, God, he's just so talented.
Yeah, I'll definitely be talking more about that band later in the podcast.
Yeah.
Because
just really ridiculous guitar playing and this soundscapes that they come up with. And, you know, they're obviously also came out through that gent kind of subgenre. Yeah. Just really great fit. And then the main event, Tesseract. I mean, this is the... God... I think this is like the 4th or 5th time I've seen Tesseract, and they never get old to me.
No.
Particularly coming off what I think is the best album of their career in War of Being.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Myself.
Yeah.
Incredible record. And they played a whole load of songs from that, including the song War of Being in full.
Yeah, they did the whole 10 minutes.
All 11 minutes of it.
11 minutes, yeah.
And Legion, which I really didn't think he could pull off, because it's just such a... If you've ever heard that song, go out and listen to Tesseract. Yeah. And Dan has got the voice of an angel.
Yeah,
I think it's
Dan, as I said earlier, you know, Dan's an incredible...
He's got the voice of an angel, the scream of a devil, and the charisma of a god when he's as a frontman, you know. And I'm not just... I mean, I'm a bit biased because I follow him on Twitch, and we've met him a couple of times, haven't we?
Yeah, he's a sound geezer.
Top geezer. Having said that, that's not my gig of the year.
No.
Because my gig of the year for 2024 is Teenage Wrist, Angel Dust and Gouge Away at the Oslo in Hackney.
The day after 2000
The day after 2000 Trees. Partly because it was such a thrill getting there on time. You know?
Yeah, that whole day was just chaos.
It was a ridiculous day. It was so lovely and sunny. It was the middle of July. England were in the European Championship final.
Yeah.
Which obviously we lost, but we don't want to talk about.
All the bands were really good on that bill.
So if we go into it, like, firstly, 2 of my absolute recent favourites in the same gig. Angel Dust, I mean, what can I say that I haven't said already in the vlog? They're just brilliant live. Justice is a phenomenal frontman. They just have so much energy, and they always love to get the crowd involved. I remember taking the mic from them a few times.
Yeah.
And then Teenage Wrist, who I think collectively we can say are one of our favourite bands of all
Yeah,
time.
for sure. So yeah, let's move on to our next category, which is Festival of the Year. Now, this is going to be an easy one because we only did 3 festivals this year.
Yeah, and also we have done a pretty comprehensive coverage of all 3 of these festivals.
Yeah.
So we might as well just do our 1 to 3
Yeah,
now, really.
pretty much. I'll let you go first because I did the
Right,
year.
well, I'll say a few words. So, number 3, as much as I love the music there and the bands and meeting Dear Download a lot and, you know, experiencing your first one of these festivals, unfortunately it is going to have to be Download, just for the sole reason of the whole tent/car debacle, which you can have a look at, obviously, in our very long vlog, which we slaved over.
We did, yeah. It took us a while to get that one out.
So, you know, I think, not say the bad outweighed the good, because it didn't, but unfortunately it is a bit of a tainted festival for me, you know. Then Slam Dunk, which, even though it was only one day, they rectified so much from the year before. It was such a gloriously sunny day. We were with Jade and Casey, and it was just, you know, even though the music on the whole, like, I think Download was better.
Yeah.
Just the vibes that day were so glorious. And unsurprisingly, number 1, 2000 Trees with a Bullet. You just cannot beat that.
Yeah.
Bloodstock may beat it next year. Who knows? We'll see.
I was going to say next year is going to be interesting because, I mean, we'll go into it in a bit more detail next year, but we are not doing as many festivals next year, I don't think. But
no.
Anyway, I'll quickly run through my list because, as I say, we only did 3 festivals, and to be honest, there's only a slight difference in our list. I put Slam Dunk at number 3 for myself. I think the main thing was that the lineup this year wasn't as strong as previous Slam Dunks. But I do agree with you that, like, everything that they did this year to rectify the mistakes of 23, fair play to the Slam Dunk team. Yeah, I mean, you can see our vlog. We had a brilliant day. Obviously, as you said, Casey and Jade were there. And that definitely, that was definitely a really good day. I've put Download at number 2 for me. I'm not going to repeat you too much, but I think that the lineup at Download was better than Slam Dunk. Obviously, they have an extra 2 days, but yeah, even with the stuff that happened with the tent and everything else that was just a bit of a dampener on the festival, I still think I had a really good time overall.
Well, that's good though, considering it was your first festival.
It was first full
and
Download
I really
that
thought
I was
it would
doing.
put you off ever coming again after the whole tent debacle.
No, I don't think so.
But I remember I did warn you multiple times about what you were getting yourself into.
I know. But yeah, I have to echo, Festival of the Year for this year was 2000 Trees by a mile. That festival is just, it's slowly, I think, becoming a second home for us.
Really is. Not to mention, by the way, they have just won Best Medium Festival of the Year for 3 years
3
running.
years running.
So it just goes to show how that we're not in the minority when it comes to the opinion on 2000 Trees. It is just genuinely stellar.
It is definitely, like, when I think about next year already, it is definitely one of the things that I'm very much looking forward to. Even though I will admit, as we've discussed before, that the 2000 Trees lineup for 25 isn't looking too much to me.
Well, it's certainly not looking as good as it is this year, but they have more bands to announce.
There are so many more bands to announce
and
for a lot of these festivals.
And the whole point of festivals like these is to get into lowlier bands. You know?
And 2000 Trees definitely.
Who knows? We'll probably discover our new favourite. You know.
Yeah.
We move on to our third category.
Yes.
Which is Set of the Year. Now, obviously, as we've established, we're differing this from Gig of the Year and just focusing on individual band set list performances, shall we say.
Yeah. So, shall I kick us off with this one?
You can kick us off if you want.
Alright, I have 2 honourable mentions for this one, and there probably could have been more, but I restrained myself.
Unlike me.
Unlike you, which,
This was ridiculous.
This was really difficult. Like, I definitely changed my mind on a couple of them a few times. So, my first honourable mention is going to be Dream State at 2000 Trees, purely for my cameo. No, I'm
White Lies featuring
White
Laura.
Lies featuring Laura of the Alt Pulse podcast. No, genuinely, like, I saw Dream State at Download and they were really good then, but I just think that The Forest just brings out just another element to any band that plays on that stage.
It is pretty magical.
And yeah, Dream State absolutely killed it, and it was funny because the semi-finals of England match was going on whilst the set was going on, so you could watch the set but also watch England. It was so weird.
That is kind of one of the things I'm going to miss about next year's rap festivals.
Hey,
like no football tournaments.
No, there is a football tournament next year.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it's the Women's Euros next year.
Oh,
so
is it really?
if the Lionesses do well, who knows?
There you go.
And another 2000 Trees set that's in the honourable mention is Palm Reader. I put it as an honourable mention because Palm Reader, you know, they're a Nottingham band, and 2000 Trees was their final ever performance, and it was just a real special set.
Yeah, they're also in my honourable mentions for the record. I think that was a fantastic send off. I think everyone was up for it.
Yeah,
you know, bass player going in the crowd and crowd surfing.
It was
really emotional. Really cool.
It was worth missing the first few songs of Hot Milk for. Let's just say that. Anyway, I'll get on to my number 3. So my number 3 pick is Unpeople at 2000 Trees. What a band! Like, we're probably going to talk about them more, like, over the next year at least. These guys are just incredible. Obviously, half of them came out of Press Tomiko, which is another band that I loved, and I wish that I could have seen more before they parted ways. But, yeah, Unpeople, incredible live band, and everybody in that tent was just up for it, and it was just... That set was really great. They pretty much played their whole EP and The Garden, which, you know, we might talk about later. Just saying. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing where Unpeople go. I'll be seeing them again in March supporting Vukovi. So I can't wait to see them play Kentish Town Forum, and it's going to be so great. That could be a possible set of the year for next year. Who knows?
Who knows? Anyway,
at number 2, I have another 2000 Trees set, and it's Creeper. And I could have... Honestly, I could have put in so many like sets from all the festivals this year, but I had to give Creeper my number 2 spot purely because like that Axiom tent was absolutely full for Creeper. I had to tactically dip from Lonely the Brave to was it Lonely the Brave?
Yeah, it was right. You were very concerned as to...
I was very concerned.
Keeping an eye on the Axiom the whole time whilst we were watching Lonely the Brave.
Yeah, and then I took my shot, and luckily our friend Brad was pretty much on barrier at the right side, and we all collectively sort of grouped up there on the right side, and yeah, their set was just incredible, and I think, you know, the next time that they play 2000 Trees, they'll probably headline it. Like,
I have to agree with that. Even though I'm not the biggest Creeper fan, for the record, I didn't actually see them. I saw Panic Shack instead.
I mean, all I'm saying is you just have to watch the Bloodstock reaction to know who's the big Creeper fan out of us. Just saying.
Definitely.
I think there was only one possible winner for set of the year, and that was Green Day at Wembley. And, I mean, what more do I need to say? American Idiot and Dookie in full, plus some saviours. I don't think I need to really explain myself anymore. I cannot wait to see Green Day at Download.
There you go. Right, I'm going to blitz through my honourable mentions.
Yes, because you can't make your mind up.
I literally cannot make my mind up about any of these. So, and they're all collectively brilliant for all different reasons. So, Interrupters at Slam Dunk, my God, they are so bloody good. Why aren't they headlining festivals? They are so bloody good. Make Them Suffer at Download, which... I mean, I got to thank you for introducing them to... we'll talk about them later, but yeah, just really stellar, really solid, really brilliant. Enter Shikari at Download cheered me the fuck up on a really depressing day.
That was a really sour day.
Yeah, and, you know, considering we'd just seen Baby Metal, not even a full Baby Metal set, you know, and then it was followed by them, right?
Yeah,
and that's just and the sun came out and the rainbow came out as they came on stage. It was just... perfect and joyous, and first time I'm seeing him, hopefully not last. Fear Factory at Download, one of my all-time favourite bands. I missed the first part of the set because of a band that I'm going to follow up on in a second, but Milo has breathed so much life into that band,
Yeah.
and I can't wait to A, see them again, because they're so bloody good, and B, a record with him
Yes.
singing on it. And the band that I saw the full set of and therefore missed the start of Fear Factory set, Pantera, a download. I never thought in a million years I'd ever see Pantera. I mentioned it time and time again in the download vlog. I mean, say what you want, it's not the real Pantera without Diamond Vinny, yada yada yada. I just consider it a great tribute to the lads, and I think they just played the hits. They just played what you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I got to see my all-time favourite guitar solo ever in Floods being played by Zakk Wylde with gusto, I might add. And yeah, just fantastic. A bucket list event, you know. Pet Needs at 2000 Trees. I'm talking about
But which one?
now, I'm going to say the acoustic set.
Yeah.
Because just any acoustic set at 2000 Trees, unless you're Frank Turner, is really chill and really cool. Don Broco at 2000 Trees. God, they're good, aren't they?
They are brilliant.
Just headliner material all over. Pizza Tramp at 2000 Trees, because I don't think I've ever laughed my arse off more at a band that I've ever seen ever. So shout out, you mad Welsh bastards. And finally, in the honourable mentions, and this just missed out by a hair.
Yeah, I'm surprised this didn't actually make your three.
Just missed out by a hair. It's Grove Street at 2000 Trees. And they were so bloody close to getting in my top 3. Finally, get to my top 3.
Yeah, we finally get there.
I did.
You did rattle off them. Yeah,
I rattled them off quickly.
I'll give you that.
Number 3, it's People at 2000 Trees. What's the surprise? I mean, even Meg, the bass player at the time of People, sadly no longer the bass player because of long COVID. Wish Meg all the best. Has said themselves it was a watershed moment for them. You got to agree. Like,
Yeah.
even though they got one EP out this year, and I think they only played 7 songs in total, every song was an utter belting song. And you could tell the crowd, even though, you know, this is a fresh, relatively new band, they're already kind of seasoned gig performers at this point, you know what I mean? My God, like Jake, what a front man. Luke went into the crowd near the end of the set, right next to me. Gave me like high fives and shit whilst he was playing guitar in the pit. And we even converted Jamie, didn't we, who was with us,
Yeah.
your mate, to them.
Yeah.
And it was just really, it just felt really special. Number 2 is Machine Head at Download.
Yeah.
That really, because it was the last day, it was the culmination of a seriously, seriously tough weekend. And it was probably the closest I'd got to any main stage, well, quasi main stage band all weekend, and just went all out. Pyro, every song banger. Rob Flynn is one of the most charismatic frontmen you will ever hope to see. Rubber hammers being thrown out during Tinder Night. Beer throwing, beer catching contests. Yeah, just sensational. Really put a smile on my face, that, and that's what a festival set should be all about. And number 1, probably the least surprising number 1, if you know me, ever, Green Day at Wembley Stadium. It's my 2 favourite albums ever. American Idiot and Dookie played back to back. Like, you can't beat it, ever.
Yeah.
You can't beat Green Day live anyway, because they are one of the best live bands on the planet, as you said at the end of the vlog.
Yeah.
But they've become such a staple of my life now. Now that I'm in a Green Day tribute band as well and have been playing for a few years, we recently did Dookie and American Idiot back to back at a show that we played locally, and that was so much fun. Just seeing those 2 albums that have meant so much to me over the years, live, like in the flesh, with my mates, all my mates, so apart from you, Dan, sorry, you were unlucky enough to see me in Glasgow. Just a special, special day. Long time coming, Green Day at the biggest stadium in the UK,
Yes.
And yeah, just a phenomenal day all round. Right, Song of the Year.
Yes.
So, is it my turn first?
I think it is, yes.
We've had so many bloody good songs coming up this year. Oh
Yeah.
my God. But here's my top 3, which I've luckily throughout the year I was keeping a tab on my favourite songs
Yeah, I
to come out
can do
of the
that.
year. So this was quite easy actually, really, to work out. Number 3. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Hope
It's
we don't
such
get
an
copyright
earworm.
infringement. Don't get copyright infringement. It's The Garden by People. It's just the by far one of the most catchiest,
Yeah.
ridiculously hummable. It's been ever since it is the literal definition of an earworm, isn't it?
It is, yeah, that's what I was just saying.
It's something where the hook just does not leave your head the moment
Yeah.
you hear it. And
how it's
wasn't
incredible live
yeah,
as well.
and it wasn't even included on the EP. That's
No.
the most incredible thing. 2 out of 3 of my top songs weren't even included on any studio albums or EPs.
Yeah.
Just not out of, just by coincidence. But in both instances, I'm going to go on to my number 2 in a second. I think, how the hell was this not on an album?
I know, yeah.
If these are people's standards for what's to come, then oh my god.
Like I say, I cannot wait to hear this song at Kentish Town Forum, because I feel like the Vukovi crowd will be up for
they'll
it.
be all over it.
I cannot wait.
It's got that bounce factor.
Yeah, it's
hasn't
got
it?
the bounce, yeah.
Number 2, Skyline by the Lovebreakers. Now, not many people would have heard of this song, but ever since I saw the Lovebreakers supporting the cover-ups, like I mentioned earlier, I've been pretty hooked on their music. They're like Cold Years, who we saw earlier in the year. They have that kind of heartland punk aesthetic,
Yeah.
but very, very British, and very, they cover Springsteen and The Who and things like that, so it should give you an indication of their influences. And they already released their album, Wonder, which was decent, but I felt like it really lacked in a killer single. And then they released Skyline just after releasing this album, and there was your killer single. It's just so unbelievably infectious with the hoo-hoo. Any song that has hoo-hoo in it is like guaranteed to be. And lyrically as well, I think it's really, there's not many songs where bands literally sing about the hometown they're from and it turns out to be Birmingham.
Yeah.
Just one song that's just never left my head the entire year, so please go and check that out. Support this band because they're up and coming,
Yes.
but they're brilliant. And my number 1 song of the whole year, this was not really that hard, to be fair, because this song, as soon as I heard it, it immediately got me anticipated for. I mean, they'd released singles beforehand for this album,
Yeah.
but this was the single where I was like, right, yeah, this band are making their mark this year, and they're doing it in style. It's Unto Others and Suicide Today.
Mm-hmm.
I first heard this song actually on our good friend John Garcia's stream, aka Stay Puff Mallow.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's like the Ramones meets like Danzig meets like The Cure. It's just all these elements that I love, the main riff is very similar to Main Man by the Ramones.
Yeah.
But the chorus as well, with the gang vocals on It Will Be Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, bring on Kentish Town Forum
Yeah.
with Green Lung.
For sure.
This song is just, I cannot explain how much I love it. It's just so unbelievably infectious. Anyway, over to you, Ben.
Yes. So I have 3 completely different songs to talk about.
Well, that's good.
But I think that just shows you sort of the quality of music from this past year, I think.
Go.
Okay, so number 3, I have Ratatata by Baby Metal and Electric Callboy. Now, this was, when we talk about earworms, this was my big earworm for the summer.
Yeah.
And I was so excited to see this at Download. And
Well, fortunately, this was one of the few songs
this was
they
one of
did
the
actually play.
few songs that they were actually able to play. But yeah, this is just so infectious, and it's just very bouncy,
It's just
very
party.
lively.
If the
it's
word,
so party
if the
vibes,
word party was in a song, this would be it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
for sure. Number 2, I have Suffocate by Not Loose featuring Poppy.
A very important song.
It
I've
is
gotta
a
say.
very, very important song, and I felt like it had to be mentioned in the podcast.
They just performed it on Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous that a song that heavy makes its
Yeah,
debut.
did you actually watch the video? There was like pyro and everything.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
insane. And I think it's just a testament to the hard work that Not Loose have put in.
Yeah.
Again, it's not to everybody's cup of tea, but for a band like that, to sort of get heavy music on the mainstream,
Yeah,
it's incredible.
on probably the second biggest chat show host in America's show.
Quite possibly, yeah. And Poppy's feature on this track is incredible as well, like the scream at the end. Not Loose are incredible, and we'll probably talk about them a little bit more later. But my number 1 song of the year is another earworm.
It certainly is.
And again, I think this came out sort of in the summer. And that is Epitaph.
Did it come on Chariots?
Hey!
There you go. Sorry, go on.
And that song is Epitaph by Make Them Suffer. If you want to talk about infectious choruses, listen to Epitaph.
And we were kind of fighting over what list that song was going to get into. Mine
Yeah.
and yours, because I love that song as well. I think it's totally just one of the best choruses you'll hear at the moment.
But yeah, like
deathcore or whatever you call it, metalcore.
Yeah, I would definitely probably categorise them more into the metalcore side of things. But they do have like really harsh vocals.
Oh god, we're going to get people after us, aren't we?
Well, I don't know.
How dare you make them suffer?
But no, honestly, Make Them Suffer, ever since I first saw them supporting Stray from the Path like over a year ago, they're just a band that I've just absolutely fell in love with. And I will talk more about them later, but yeah, Epitaph, my song of the year for sure.
Go and check it out. Go and check out all of those songs. Now, we move on to Discovery of the Year.
Yes. And the way that we tried to sort of categorise, what would actually fit in here is that we were trying to think of bands who we haven't seen at all until this year.
Yeah.
Or they're bands that we may have heard of loosely, but actually didn't see them or listen to them properly, I guess.
Yeah, that's the criteria, I'd say, for this category.
So I guess I'll kick this one off. So number 3, spoke about them earlier in the podcast, and that is Unprocessed. I hadn't heard of them until we actually started doing our homework for the Tesseract gig. And yeah, I don't think I fully fell in love with them until I saw the live show. As we said earlier, the guitar work is just incredible. And we were right at the front for Unprocessed as well, unironically.
Literally, pretty much
directly into his eye line. And yeah, this guy is
And he still wasn't
incredible.
distracted enough to fuck up any...
No, honestly, if you... just check out any footage on YouTube or Instagram.
Yeah, incredible guitar.
Incredible guitar work. So yeah, massive shout out to Manuel. So talented. So my number 2 pick for Discovery of the Year is Knife Bride. Now, as I alluded to earlier, I saw Knife Bride for the first time supporting Vukovi. And again, I hadn't heard of them until I was doing my homework for the gig. They're just kind of my vibe, I just really enjoyed their live shows. I don't think they've actually released the debut album yet. They've just got an EP. So my number 1 Discovery of the Year comes from 2000 Trees, which doesn't surprise me because 2000 Trees always seem to kill it.
Just a hotbed of new brilliant talent. Really.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm hoping it's going to be the same again for next year.
Yeah, and my Discovery of the Year is No Bro.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't quite know what to expect, I'll be honest, when we said we were going to go and see them. On record, they sound really cool, they've got punky elements. Yeah. I think our friend kind of described them as sort of femme Ramones.
He mentioned Ramones a lot when describing them, which is a fair assessment.
It's a very fair assessment. But yeah, we went into the tent and we were initially at the back and we started watching and we got a little bit closer as the set went on. And yeah, they're just live shows, just really cool. The lead singer's jumping about everywhere. I seem to recall that the percussionist and the bassist swap places as well. So there was a couple of songs where the bass player went on the drums and the percussionist went on the bass, and yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
They were just really, really good, and the lead singer was crowd surfing. They really got the crowd moving, and I think it was just in the middle of the afternoon, I seem to recall.
Low key, that was a really, really good show.
Yeah,
and considering I'd never heard of them before either, they were one of my highlights.
Yeah,
when we did our kind of annual deep dive on
on 2000 Trees. But yeah, I'm definitely excited to see them again in the future. And No Bro, my Discovery of the Year.
Thumbs up, No Bro. Right, so for me, number 3. This is a band I kind of alluded to earlier in the podcast. We saw him supporting Puppy.
Yes.
Uzumaki. Not to spoil anything, but I immediately went and checked out their album after the show. And oh my god, it's so good. I will get into that later. This is a band who have very, very, very few people have heard of.
Yeah.
I'm talking, I think their biggest song on Spotify has only about 6,000 listens, which is insane to me. College rock, slacker pop, very 90s indie influenced, bit of shoegaze in there. But I was so impressed with them supporting Puppy.
Yeah.
I really I went back to Jock and I was like, well, do you know about these guys? He's like, oh no, it's like, I think, he says, oh, well, no, Will found them. But fair play if that's true. No, fantastic band. Really, very much an underground band.
For sure.
I'll be very surprised if any of you have heard this lot. Number 2, the Love Breakers. Like I said, saw them supporting cover-ups. And when a band makes Sam even go, oh, these lot are great.
Oh, yeah.
You know that they're, because, I don't know, Sam's quite particular with when it comes to bands, but even it made him kind of stand up and take notice. And the fact they're from Birmingham and support Aston Villa as well probably helps.
Yeah, that probably does help a little bit.
But they're just really, really cool dudes. Really charismatic. They remind me a lot of The Clash in some ways. I didn't really think I mentioned that earlier, but their bass player in particular has got a real Paul Simon vibe about him. You know, big leather jacket on. Really great songs. They really cool kind of retro influences in their sound,
Yeah.
And their guitar player has a magnificent cowlick and blue Fallout jacket. Number 1 though, this band, as soon as I heard their album from earlier this year, I was absolutely hooked. And this was a band I'd been hearing about on and off for a while.
I was just about to say, I would like to take credit for this one.
Yeah.
Because I have definitely spoken about them to you before.
Yes.
And I think it was only until, like you said, when the album came out and we started doing our homework for Trees that you actually got it.
And I got it in spades.
Oh, yeah.
It's Cherrim. Amazing group from Ireland.
Yes. I think it's Derry, specifically.
I
think it is.
So Derry's known for 2 things then.
Yeah.
Derry Girls and Cherrim.
Yeah.
They're absolutely incredible. We were on a walk around our local park listening to the album, and I just could not believe how great it sounded.
Yeah. I knew that you would love them because I first saw... This is why Cherrim wasn't on my list, but Cherrim I first saw supporting Nova Twins 2 years ago at the Rescue Rooms in Nottingham, and I really loved their sound then, and I love it even more now. Spoilers.
Yeah, I mean, I miss Milk Teeth dearly.
Yeah.
Right? We both do.
Yeah.
But if this is the sort of Milk Teeth replacement / equivalent band, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, I really hope that we can catch them on their own show.
Absolutely. Saw them at 2000 Trees, absolutely killed it. I'll describe their music a bit more later on, but truly incredible. Really great discovery and one of the highlights of my year.
Yeah, honestly, if any of you haven't checked out Cherrim, I would highly recommend it.
Cherym. Right, now a lonely category for you because
you didn't really have anything to contribute for this one, but that's fine. I'll take the weight. So I'm going to talk about EP of the year now.
We're getting into our favourite records of the year.
We are slowly getting to the big one. So this is the penultimate one before we talk about our favourite albums. I'm trying to get better at tracking these, I'll be honest, because sometimes EPs are released that are just, they feel like they should be albums in a way. So we'll start with my number 3 EP. And I actually almost forgot that this came out, no offence. But
considering they're one of your favourite bands as well. That's surprising.
Just because we listen to a lot of the singles and stuff, and annoyingly on Spotify it is listed as an album, even though it's an EP. But this also came out in January, so you can forgive me for forgetting it.
But anyway, what's the EP?
Number 3 EP is Dream State with Still Dreaming. This is their first full release since the lineup completely changed.
Almost completely
changed.
one member from the original Dream State remains, the guitar player, and then the whole rest of the lineup left pretty much.
But
so it's almost a different band.
It is almost a different band, but they decided to keep the Dream State name, and I'm glad they did, to be honest. Because all of these songs still have that original vibe, if that makes sense. Still Dreaming, which is obviously the title track. Chin Up Princess is on here.
Chin Up Princess is
Anxious State of Mind, and Dayseeker to close it. I think Dayseeker was a bit of a grower for me, for sure.
Honestly, Jess is such an incredible
Yeah,
frontwoman,
I
really.
cannot fault the direction that they're going in.
One of the most dynamic voices I think I've heard in recent years.
Yeah.
You know, she can go from like the lowest of growls to like the highest of screams.
Yeah,
You know, it's
but I think
really,
it
really
helps, like, her sort of training. She's got, like, I mentioned this in the Trees vlog.
cool. Like classical.
She's
background, right?
she's got some very operatic tones,
Yeah.
and the way that she can control it is just incredible in the cleans.
Mm.
And yeah, I'm very excited to see as they continue to progress, like, where they're gonna go. Their latest single, Bloom, which wasn't on this EP, obviously, because this single came out in October, that has, like, Primrose Path vibes, which was the one and only album that they did in the original lineup. But anyway, yeah, number 3, Dream State, Still Dreaming. Go check it out.
Fair play.
Number 2, and this is actually a band that was a support for another band that we saw, The Hell, back in April. And that band is called False Reality, with their EP Path of Self-Destruct. If you like your hardcore, you will probably like False Reality.
Most definitely, yeah.
They are, again, I can't remember where they're from, but they are British. Oh, British hardcore. Sorry.
British hardcore.
British hardcore. But yeah, I'm just like, I remember we saw them. Oh, they're from London. Thank you. Yeah, we saw them supporting The Hell at the Black Heart. And yeah, they really, really impressed me. I know that Brad really liked them as well. And yeah, they're definitely a band that I really want to try and see more of in 2025 if they get booked on other festivals and stuff. I could definitely see Trees booking them. But yeah, Pressure is just as a bop. And I think the other one that I really like is Opposites React. I'm just looking at the EP. But yeah, it's a really short EP, 20 minutes. If you love your hardcore, go and check out False Reality. They're definitely like an up-and-coming band for sure. But one that really, just gave me a really good first impression.
That's what we like to do on this. We like to promote lowlier acts.
For sure.
You know?
Yeah.
So go and check out that EP.
Yeah. But my number 1 EP, I think there was only one that was going to...
Yeah, I think there was only one that was going to win it.
That was going to win it. And that is Unpeople's
And if I was to choose my
EP
EP of the year, it probably would be Unpeople.
Yeah.
Unpeople
Like,
as well.
I'm just looking at it again, Moon Baboon, Going Numb.
Going Numb.
Waste. Like, it's a really, really short EP. It's only 5 songs, 18 minutes. Go and check it out, honestly. If you
a
still
band
haven't
making
heard
as big of an
Unpeople.
impression as they've done with 5 songs, 6 songs, I guess.
6 songs if you include The Garden, yeah.
Really unprecedented.
Yeah.
They're going to the stratosphere.
Yeah, I cannot wait to see where they go. We'll probably continue to gush over them later.
Okay then, right, we finally come to the big one.
Yes, album of the year.
The big one.
The big one. Now, I think the way that we're going to do this is we're sort of going to go back and forth a little bit on this one. We're going to go through our number 20 to a number 11 in our list. And then we're going to go in more in depth in like the number 10 album on our list to number 5. And then we're just going to gush over our top 5. But there might be some slight overlap, so we apologise for that. We both like the same albums, almost.
Almost, yeah.
Honestly, our lists are pretty different this year.
I feel like
I
feel like it's been a very eclectic year for me.
Yeah.
In particular, there's pretty much everything on there.
Yeah. I definitely have a good mix of genres.
In terms of my musical palette,
Yeah, for sure.
So, shall I go first then?
Yeah, so what is your number 20 pick?
Number 20 is Alceste with Les Chants de l'Aurore. Alceste proves why these lads are the best at what they do. This album, fantastically powerful odyssey, atmospheric, otherworldly fusion of shoegaze and black metal. So why change a winning formula, really?
Yeah.
That's all I can say. So if you like that stuff, just go and check that out.
Nice. Funny you should talk about shoegaze, because my number 20 album for the year is Blanket with Ceremonia. Another shoegazy band. Finally got to see them for the first time at Trees this year. And yeah, just their vibes on this album are immaculate. If you love shoegazy guitars and
Post-rock, very
post-rock,
atmospheric. Really, really cool.
yes.
My number 19, Rough Justice, Faith in Vain. Now, these lads, crossover thrash band, they're on Malevolence's record label, and their drummer is Josh from Malevolence.
Yes.
So obviously, they sound a bit like Malevolence, which is always good. It was a really, really short album, though, and we listened to it at the very beginning of the year. It was my number one for ages, actually, until it got toppled.
Yeah.
And more and more releases came out. But if you love Guilt Trip, if you love any of the bands on Malevolence's record label, if you like riffs, hardcore riffs with lots of pinch harmonics and stuff like that, then you'll like this lot. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. So my number 19 pick, and I must admit, this album was in my top 10 for a while, but then when I went back to it, a couple of the songs I rated a little bit lower than on first listen. But at number 19, I have Crawlers with The Mess We Seem to Make. Now, this is their debut album. Would you believe?
Is it really?
Yep, it is their debut release.
I feel like they've been going for ages.
Yes, but they only released their debut album this year.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, Crawlers definitely scratched that sort of, not indie rock, but sort of pop rock scratch, you know?
Yeah.
I really like what they've done with this album. I'd say my particular favourite song off the album was Would You Come to My Funeral? And I also like I Want to Know What I Love. I almost went to say,
I want to know what love is.
I want to know what love is. It's a bit of a tongue twister when you're trying to, say it real quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, for a debut release from these guys, absolutely incredible. I'm gutted that I couldn't see them at 2000 Trees this year. I think they clashed with somebody else that I really wanted to see, and it was just a really hard call.
So number 18 for me, we have Drug Church with Prude. Drug Church, they are basically America's equivalent to High Vis,
Yeah.
who I'm going to keep mentioning.
hint.
Really cool, really cool synthesis of kind of post-punk, hardcore, 90s emo, all in a blender. Influences like Husker Du and Bob Mould kind of shine through on it. I mean, how it took me this long to get into this band, I've no idea, because it's just everything that it ticks all the right boxes for me, really. And even I can even hear a bit of Therapy in there in some of the riffs. Some of the kind of weird metallic hardcore kind of riffs. But they also, they have that kind of 90s emo sensibility as well, and really unique style of vocals as well. Almost speak-singy type.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see them live. I mean, they're very much an Outbreak type band, I would say.
Yeah, probably.
If we end up doing that next year.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
We'll have to see.
Yes. So my number 18 is Cold Years with A Different Life.
Now, this lot just missed out on my top 20. They were in my top 20 for quite some time. And they just missed out.
They just missed out on yours. But they went to number 18 in my list. And yeah, these guys are just really, really good live, and they have some great songs on there, like Fuck the Weather and Choke. Like they've
Roll With It.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some fantastic
They've got some
songs.
great stuff on there.
Scottish Green Day, basically.
Scottish Green Day, yeah. If you like Green Day,
The
you
best
like
way I
Cold
can
Years.
describe them.
Yep.
Right, number 17, we have Crows and Reason Enough. So, the reason why this was my number 17, Joy Division-esque post-punk, dabbles of kind of Lullabies era, Queens of the Stone Age, bit of Sonic Youth style, those sort of hanging on singular notes and droning repetitive dark indie riffs. But, man, seriously catchy choruses as well. I feel like they're almost kind of like a moodier Vaccines. Yeah, really, really cool. Cool late discovery, really, for me.
Yeah.
And really just match the vibes of walking to work really early in London in the morning.
Nice.
Over to you.
All right, so my number 17 is Giant Walker with Silhouettes. Now, I only just listened to this album in the last couple of weeks, I must admit, because I've been quite behind. But Giant Walker are a band that I discovered in the last couple of years, and I've really, really loved their vibes. And I will finally see them one day, I hope. But yeah, this album is just so good.
Is this our first crossover?
Not quite. Just looking at your list. But yeah, I just need to shout out Round and Round We Go off of this album. Like, that riff has just been in my head ever since I listened to the album.
Right, my number 16, I Destroy, with I Destroy.
Self-titled again.
Self-titled. I think this is their debut.
No, it is not. This is their second album.
Oh, it's their second album.
Yes,
cool.
it is.
Usually self-titles are first ones, but there you go. Yeah, I mean, these girls are terrific, aren't
Yeah, we fell in love with
We've
this
seen
band
them
even
by
more.
far the most amount of times out of any
we've seen
band
them like 3 times this year.
in the space of a year.
Yeah.
And they killed it every time they played. Those songs were well bored in my head
Yes.
by the time I checked out the actual album. And
Yes.
thankfully, there was a lot of bangers. The same bangers from the sets they played on this record.
Yes.
100 sounds, headphones.
Yeah.
I mean,
good.
They got like that very old school Stooges garagey punk rock vibe
Yeah.
about them, but just really super cool and even better live.
Yeah, for sure. So my number 16 is Unto Others with Never Neverland. Like, what can I say? Like, the gothic vibes are there, and you mentioned Suicide Today, like earlier.
What a tune!
What a tune that is! And I cannot wait to see them supporting Greenlung in February.
Right, number 15, Harriet, Devoured by the Mouth of Hell.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we've seen them live a few times at this point now.
I think I've seen them now 4 times.
Just soul-crushingly heavy, but also offset by moments of true beauty and tenderness with, like, Visage.
Yeah. I will talk about this album a lot more later.
Yes.
Spoiler alert.
Well, all I'm going to then lead off with this, because obviously if you're going to talk about it more later,
Oh yeah.
this band are going right to the very top if they carry on with this sort of form.
Yes, absolutely. So my number 15, Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes with Dark Rainbow.
Again, I re-listened to that album today at work and I forgot how good it was.
Yeah, I mean Brambles for one,
Man
of the Hour,
Honey. There's some
yeah,
fantastic
there are some
songs on this.
fantastic songs on there.
I think it's almost a fitting epitaph to their career, really. Cause
yeah, for sure.
Definitely the most delicate Frank album,
Yes,
I would say.
for sure.
You'll find absolutely no screaming or crunchy riffs on this at all. But it's all about the songs.
Yeah, it's all about the sort of lyrical content.
Very kind of, sort of almost like a kind of pastoral thing with it, like with the aesthetic he was going for with like long hair and the suit.
Yeah, and the whole vibe of the Roundhouse
and the roses and
but
no, really, really.
Yeah,
really
it was
cool.
a really, really good album. As I say, it probably isn't their strongest album on their discography, but I think definitely still go and check it out if you haven't.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I concur with that. Right, speaking of Goffy boys, from earlier, number 14 are my Goffy boys, Zetra, with their self-titled debut album. They've finally released it.
Yes, they did.
Their enigmatic debut album. Ever so slightly different to their previous EPs, which I adore. And I kind of wish some of the songs from those EPs were on this album. But it still has all the hallmarks of why I fell in love with this group in the first place.
Yeah.
Beautiful, ethereal synth work, which complements atmospheric guitars and lighter-than-air vocals.
So, my number 14 album is Speed with Only One Mode. Hardcore and flutes. Enough said.
What a combination.
Yeah. But for real. Speed are definitely one of those, like, real big names, I would say, that are up and coming in the hardcore scene. And for good reason. I haven't seen them live yet, but hopefully next year we shall see.
Yes, hopefully.
Because they were meant to play Download this year, but
they
then
pulled out.
They pulled out, so I didn't get to see them.
We missed the flute.
We missed the flute.
When we do see him, I want Lizzo to be playing that flute on that song.
We need to enlist Lizzo.
Yes. My number 13, we have Webbed Wing with Volume 3.
Yeah.
Now, a bit of an outside kind of choice, really.
Yeah.
This is this side project from the guys from Superheaven. And it's a lot more it's very, very short, for one thing.
Yeah.
Very influenced by the Lemonheads indie rock from like the 90s, but less of the shoegaze kind of thing, which made Superheaven kind of famous.
Yeah.
But just all quality, really. There's not a second where I don't enjoy a track that's on it, and just don't have a big upbeat kind of smile on my face when listening to it, really.
My number 13, I'll keep it short because we've already spoken about them, but it is I Destroy with their self-titled album. I can't really add any more to what you've already said earlier. They're an incredible band. Headphones is an absolute tune, 100 sounds. They all sound just as good on record as they do live. But yeah, that is my number 13 pick.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think that's summed them up pretty well. Well done, girls. Number 12, we've already kind of talked about them.
Yeah.
Giant Walker with Silhouettes. Just to add to what you said earlier, proggy, riffy, atmospheric, parts even reminiscent, I think, of Tesseract, really, in just the production sense.
Yeah.
Very kind of ethereal, but crushing riffs kind of permeating through the middle of it.
Yeah.
With this deft kind of soft vocal beauty at the forefront, big searing choruses, and yet another example of why Church Road is absolutely killing it at the moment.
Absolutely. My number 12 slot, I have Linkin Park with From Zero. Now,
Controversial choice?
I would say it's controversial in the sense that some people would list this higher, some people would list this way lower. I think for me, the reason that this just missed out on like my top 10 slot, because we are getting closer to that now, the singles really heavily lifted this album. Like The Emptiness Machine, Heavy as the Crown. Like, I'd say that out of all of the songs on the album that aren't singles, I'd say that the strongest one is probably Casualty. All the other tracks on the album, like, I can take or leave. But as I say, the reason that this is at number 12 is because it is still a good album overall.
It's a decent album. I obviously, the burden, the shadow of Chester Bennington is just so ridiculously heavy.
Yeah.
So poor Emily is kind of damned if she do, damned if she don't, really. With it. But for her first effort, I think it's pretty commendable. You know. Right. We're getting closer to our top 10. Just missing out on my top 10. Number 11, we have Low Lives with Freaking Out. Low Lives, supergroup, former frontman of The Defiled, embraces the grunge, churns out early noughties, Puddle of Mud inspired alt rock. I mean, obviously the words Puddle of Mud might convey a bit of fear into some people, but don't worry, I don't cover Nirvana or anything, you know, on this. There's no about the girls singing horribly out of tune. But that kind of post-grunge kind of vibe, you know, very early 2000s vibe. If you like drop D riffs that are bendy and 90s afflicted choruses, I highly recommend checking this one out, and I can't wait to see him at 2000 Trees next year. Yes.
And we'll go on to my number 11 pick, but I will keep this short because, spoilers, we're going to talk about it again later. But just missing out on the number 10 slot on my list is High Vis with Guided Tour. I only just listened to this album a few weeks ago, but I really, really enjoyed it.
And who was pressuring you to listen to this album?
No comment.
No comment.
Yeah, High Vis are definitely like a band that I really need to go and see live very soon. They've just got so many like Britpop influences.
Have you still not seen them live?
I still haven't seen them live, and they are touring soon. But
they are.
I may or may not be already busy, but nonetheless. Yeah, as I say, I'm not going to talk about it too much because a certain someone in the room also has it on the list later on.
Oh, I very much have them on the list, yes. So, we finally come to our top 10.
Yes.
Now, number 10. This was actually in my top 5 at one point because it was so great. We have Wonder Horse with Midas, and I've got to shout out Dan from the Ragamuffins who actually turned me on to this record.
Yeah.
So, it's a really, really interesting, bohemian, cool, dark, post-punk rock act. Bit of cute Queens of the Stone Age in there. Bit of Pixies in there. It's actually the frontman of the band. Bit of trivia. Played Paul Cook in the Pistol series, which was about the Sex Pistols.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we did watch that.
Maybe one day we could do a review of that potentially. But this is actually his band.
Right. Okay.
He's the frontman. And there was so much buzz going around with this band this year that I felt like I had to check it out. I've never heard much stuff like this before, really. It's just a really unique kind of sound that they've got. Really cool and dark. And again, if you like the influences I've listed, then yeah, do check it out.
Number 10, I have Pale Waves with Smitten. Now, Pale Waves, we got a first glimpse of this album actually at Slam Dunk this year.
We did, actually.
Because they performed Perfume, which wasn't even released at that point. They were just like, we're just going to play a new song. And it was Perfume.
That is a tune, by the way.
It is a big tune. It's not my favourite off the album, though. I would say some of my standouts are Not a Love Song, Kiss Me Again, and Seeing Stars are probably some of my standouts on this album. But yeah, they're a band that I've loved for quite some time, got to see for the first time finally this year. And as soon as they said that they've got a new album in the works, I was like, yes, please. I don't know, like, their sound has just kind of really been evolving since their first record.
It's almost been evolving from album to album, really, hasn't it?
Pretty
much. No one
much.
album of theirs kind of sounds the same.
No, like, they obviously still have, like, all the guitar stuff going on, but this one is very sort of atmospheric in its production.
Kind of got a new wavy vibe about it.
Yeah.
Lots of jangly guitars, which I like. This
yeah.
album was actually very high on my list until quite recently. We get on to my number 9. Fit for an Autopsy, the Nothing That Is.
Yes.
I mean, just breakdown after crushing vocals.
Yeah.
Hostage was seriously in contention for one of my tunes of the year.
Yeah, that is a tune.
That is one, if not the best deathcore song I've ever heard, I think. It just has such a great blend of absolutely pummeling aggression.
Yes.
With, like, this really cool kind of anthemic chorus, you know.
Yeah.
And seeing them live really just reiterated how great this album is, because they played a lot of songs from this album.
They did.
Red Horizon as well, and so great.
Oh yeah. So yeah, my number 9 album of the year is one that I'm surprised not too many other people are talking about yet, but maybe we're just jumping on the bandwagon a bit early with album of the year lists. But anyway, number 9, I have Bring Me the Horizon with Posthuman Next Gen. It's a long album, this one, 55 minutes.
We listened to it on a very long car journey.
We were driving. I can't remember where we were driving to.
Time, yeah.
But nonetheless, there are some absolute tunes on this album. Kool-Aid, Dark Side.
I was going to say Kool-Aid.
Lost.
Yeah.
This album obviously took a while to come out. Again, I think the singles were the stronger part of it, but there were definitely some stuff on here that, you know, I hadn't heard before, and I really enjoyed.
Number 8. I can't believe we've gone this long without mentioning this band.
Oh, don't you worry. I'm mentioning them. I'm mentioning them later.
This is a band that I've already mentioned several times. Not on this podcast, only on this podcast, but on this channel. A band that are very near and dear to my heart, and a band that I'm delighted to say have come up with probably their best effort for, about
At least a decade.
At least a decade.
In your eyes,
in my eyes.
At least a decade.
And that is Green Day with their album Saviours.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get too far into it because I know you want to cover it as well.
But
basically, we first heard this album before it even came out.
Yeah, we did, again, this was before we launched the channel. We went to a record shop. I can't even remember where it was, but we had to drive for a while to get there. And they were doing a listening party, and it's not uncommon for bands to do this, but for a band like Green Day to do something like this,
it was such a privilege to be in that room hearing that for the first time, and then making notes on each song and stuff. Genuinely, I think this is their best album since at least 21st Century Breakdown.
I would have to agree with that.
And I mean, you've got Coma City, you've got 1981, you've got American Dream Is Killing Me, One-Eyed Bastard, which just missed out on my top songs of the year.
Yeah.
If for nothing else, I love playing that song with my Green Day tribute band. It's so much fun on bass. And shout out to Mike Dirnt, who, for me, is the MVP of this album.
Yeah.
His bass playing, his fiddly kind of octavey riffs are back on this album in full force.
Yeah. So, my number 8 album for this year, and I must admit this album was actually very high up on my list for quite some time, the vast majority of this year. But going back to it, I think it just missed the mark compared to the other albums that I'm going to talk about. So my number 8 is Casey with How to Disappear. Now, we listened to this way back at the start of the year, pretty much, on the way to Birmingham, I think, and it the whole atmosphere of that album is incredible. On multiple listens, that doesn't really go away at all. This is a band that I don't really have too much experience with in terms of their discography. But I heard the Ragamuffins talking about this album, and I was like, okay, I'm intrigued. Let's add it to our list. And yeah, there are some really, really incredible songs on this album. They definitely give me, the post-hardcore vibes.
They've got a bit of a holding absence thing about them. And I'm not just saying that because they played shows with them, but genuinely, they have that as atmospheric post-hardcore post-rock kind of sound down to
Yes,
a T, you know.
for sure.
And we've got to give kudos as well to Tom Weaver, the vocalist, who has been going through some rough shit recently.
Mm-hmm.
This was a really, really great album, and I think literally it just missed out in the latter stages of the year once I began my re-listens, you know. Number 7 for me, we've already mentioned them, but I'm going to mention them again, Unto Others.
Yeah.
This album, really, if they'd have just not made it so top-heavy
Yeah,
for me,
I get that.
all the brilliant songs on this album, in my opinion, are right at the front, but there are several brilliant songs on it.
Yeah.
Mama Likes the Door Closed, Flatline, Suicide Today, Butterfly. This is their third release under the Unto Others name.
Correct.
Third studio album. They keep going from strength to strength as far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned. I really think it's only a matter of time before they really start going places, you know.
My number 7 pick is an album that Rob just spoke about earlier, and that is Green Day with Saviours.
Well, what are your thoughts on Saviours?
So my thoughts of Saviours, I think this would rate higher if it wasn't so top heavy.
You think this one's top heavy?
I think this one's quite top heavy.
I can see that. Yeah. It's a long one. It's like 15 songs, right?
Yeah, 15 songs, 46 minutes. But yeah, I think the singles being sort of nearer the start of the album, The American Dream is Killing Me, 1981, One Eyed Bastard. You didn't even talk about Dilemma, which I think is one of the best songs.
Yeah, oh god, yeah.
Dilemma is so good.
Dilemma's amazing. It's like What's the Name Part 2, pretty much.
And then you've got like Bobby Socks.
I didn't even, that one,
Bobby Socks playing.
That one went down an absolute storm at Wembley. Everyone
did.
was jumping up and down.
Yeah, Bobby Socks is really good.
And Look Ma No Brains as well.
Yeah, but again, they're all, at the sort of the first half of the album. The second half of the album is a little bit weaker, which is why it's not higher on the list.
Sure. Number 6. Unsettling atmospherics, crushing guitar, anguished vocals from Taylor and great drums from Crayon. Yes, you'd be forgiven for thinking I'm talking about a new Slipknot album. Their offspring, however, have produced something that's, I've got to say, is a lot more enjoyable and catchy than the end so far. We're seeing Slipknot tomorrow.
We are.
Maybe I can apologise to them in person. But I really did not like that album. Griffin, is it Griffin Taylor? Is that his name?
I believe it is.
Yeah. Is the son of Corey Taylor, and this is his band, with Sean Crayon's son on drums. He sounds remarkably like his dad.
Yeah. It
in
really,
parts.
yeah, for sure.
Particularly Iowa era.
Yeah,
Corey
I
Taylor,
agree.
You know what I mean? And it has the dark, unsettling sensibilities of that particular era of Slipknot, which is my favourite era of Slipknot. And if they do an Iowa tour, I'm going. And you're coming with me.
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, you might want to say the name of the band that you're talking about at number 6, just in case people didn't realise who we're talking about.
The Slipknot Part 2. No. No, it's Vended's self-titled album.
Yes.
Vended.
So my number 6 pick, just missing out on my top 5, it's Neck Deep. With Neck Deep.
With Neck Deep.
Everybody doing self-titled records this year, I told you.
Yeah.
Again, this was quite an early release in 2024, but it stuck with me. Dumbstruck, Dumbfuck, Sort Yourself Out, Heartbreak of the Century, Go Outside. There are some brilliant songs on this album, and it really goes back to sort of their pop punk roots for sure. All Distortions Are Intentional, which came out over the COVID times, that really wasn't a great album. And this was kind of a return to form for them with their self-titled. So I can fully appreciate that they've gone back to sort of what they know. And yeah, Neck Deep are definitely a band that are starting to grow on me again because of this album.
Right, we get into the nitty-gritty now.
Yes, the big boys.
The big boys. Our top 5 albums of 2024.
Yes.
And we're going to start with my number 5. This band I only found out about really the first time we went to 2000 Trees, really.
Yeah.
Which was a couple of years ago. And they were in this really small tent called The Cave. And there was barely anyone there. And I kind of, really on reflection, we looked at them, we probably like, this band have really got something, you know.
Yeah.
It wasn't until this year where I want to say this is their debut album.
It is, yes.
Yeah, but several handfuls of singles released over the last few years. The hype was there. Dear Download swear by this band.
Yeah.
It's defects with modern era. And truly, I mean, I think this is one of the most exciting up-and-coming metalcore acts I think this country has produced in ages.
I would have to agree.
I think I've probably said this before, right? But like, they are the total package for me. They're super catchy choruses, but they're not afraid to be really melodic, yet simultaneously ultra crushing. They have earworms for days on that album. You know, I think their frontman, he does a simultaneous kind of scream and sing thing, which is not easy. You know, I know only a handful of people who can do that. Like, so I'm just really super promising. I just really hope great things lie in wait for them. But as far as a debut album goes, they've really hit the ground running, I think, with this. For
sure. Right, my number 5 pick, which is an album that you spoke about earlier, but I'm definitely going to just cover up some more points that, solidifies why it's my number 5 pick. And that is Fit for an Autopsy with The Nothing That Is. Obviously, we've seen them this year and we got to hear some of these songs live. And yeah, this is an absolutely fantastic record. Hostage, like you say, is an absolute banger. Saviour of None, Ashes of All is definitely a highlight of mine from this album. Lurch, Red Horizon, and the penultimate track, Lust for the Severed Head, is also a pretty standout track.
They've all got fantastic
They've all got great names, haven't they?
Right, number 4. Now, this is a really interesting pick, and it could be quite controversial.
Yeah, I haven't listened to this album, so this is all you.
So, Neon Nightmare, A Faded Dream. Do you miss Typo Negative? Well, I sure do. But this is the next best thing. There's absolutely no hiding the influence on the Spirit Adrift frontman side project, from the artwork design to Lost Silver, which evokes anesthesia from Life Is Killing Me in a very obvious way. Pete Steele-esque crooning on songs like She's Drowning. So, I mean, I guess you'd be forgiven to think the fact that this is just a complete rip-off of Typo Negative. But I kind of consider this to be more of a tribute record, which just so happens to be full of completely original songs. And the thing is, the music is fucking excellent as well, whichever way you slice it. Lots of quite long tracks, you know, but his delivery is so good. It's, like I said, really Pete Steele-esque. I think of this as the Typo album, the last Typo album that we never got because of Pete Steele's death. And, you know, really is obvious they are definitely paying tribute to him.
We'll go on to my number 4 pick, and my number 4 pick for this year is Knocked Loose with You Won't Go Before You're Supposed To. This album, it's short for one. It's 27 minutes of just, feral. I think that's a good word.
Feral is a fantastic word to describe.
Feral is an incredible.
It does sound like he does kind of sound like a rabid dog when he.
But
screams.
I mean, I mentioned before Suffocate. Obviously, that's on this album. Don't Reach for Me is incredible. Slaughterhouse 2, Blinding Faith as well, which is the penultimate track on this album. I think all of their songs are absolutely incredible, and I think the reason that this album is as high as it is not just because of the sort of contents of the music, but just, as I say, for what Knocked Loose have done for the scene, it can't go unnoticed at all. And
this year in particular has been an absolutely pivotal year for them.
Yeah,
and their career.
And this album is definitely at the forefront of that.
This year is what Turnstile's year was in 2021.
Yeah, I think Knocked Loose have definitely gone through that transition.
Right, my number 3, and it's a band that you're going to talk about very shortly as well.
Yes, I will be.
We mentioned them earlier. It's Take It or Leave It by Cherem.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as debut albums go, if only just for the line "Bend It Like Beckham, she'll score any second" for Taking Up Sports. Seriously impressive debut record, full of unbelievably catchy, sunny, pop-infused punk anthems, songs I can listen to and repeat, never get bored, but also, as we alluded to earlier, kind of displaying a headstrong, impactful message about female and LGBT plus issues, hoping for massive, huge things to come from this lot, basically.
I really hope so as well.
The only reason why it's not top is because Abigail wasn't on it.
Yeah, Abigail is an absolute tune.
If they put out, I know they released it like
it was like 3 years ago almost
before this,
now.
but if they'd have put that on this album, that would have been my number one. With a bullet.
Yeah. My number 3 is an album that you discussed a little bit earlier, but I'm going to go a little bit more in depth. And that is Harriet with Devoured by the Mouth of Hell.
Yeah.
And honestly, this debut album was, I was waiting for it ever since I first saw them, like 2 years ago at 2000 Trees. First thing in the morning at the cave, just bass rumbling, like
the ground was
shaking, and my God, I fell in love with Harriet at that moment, and they've just continued to progress and grow and grow and grow, and I'm so happy with this album. Like, there's just so many great songs on here. Harm Sequence, Siege Lord, Fortress Gate, well, At the Fortress Gate.
At the Fortress Gate is a
that
massive
is
tune.
Incredible. And then we already mentioned about, you know, the fact that this album can go from those sort of heavy riffs to the sort of more atmospheric, softer sounds with Visage.
Yeah.
I really hope that, you know, I haven't got my ticket yet, but I'm hoping that when I see them at the Underworld, that they play Visage.
They're a vibe band, aren't
Yeah.
they? You see them and you instantly get what the vibe is about.
You instantly want to bang your head.
Yeah.
You know, there's people that obviously start the pits, you know, they just know what they're doing at a Harriet show.
I mean, you know, the Rumble from 2000 Trees could have been someone taking their hot sauce.
Yeah. It only just misses out on, like, my favourite debut record of the year, which we'll discuss in my next slot.
I wonder what it can be.
I wonder what it could be. But no, Harriet are, you know, a band that I absolutely adore, and as I say, I cannot wait to see them again next year, at least at Bloodstock. I think I will definitely try and get my ticket for the Underworld as well. Do it as a late birthday thing, because my birthday's in April.
There you go. Right, we're getting very, very close to the end, and this is the album that just missed out on my album of the year. Uzumaki, Waded. I talked about them earlier. Very much an underground, unknown prospect at this stage. I'm hoping it's not going to stay that way. I was kind of a bit... It always stuck around the top as soon as I listened to it.
Yeah.
And I kind of was like, is it really that good? I re-listened to it recently. Yeah, it really is that good.
It really is.
It really is that good. Absolutely superb. Like, melancholic yet upbeat mid-90s slacker pop / college rock. Man, oh man, like, the choruses on this... Listening to this record just gives me a lift and makes me feel really warm, wistful and nostalgic for a time that I didn't even know about, you know? There's barely any Spotify listens for this band, like I said, which is a crying shame, really. I'm hoping that this podcast will help others discover them, you know. Just goes to show, really, if you like seeing a band live, even if it's just a lowly support band, check out their studio output as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, because I wouldn't have known how great this album was if I hadn't seen them with Puppy at that show in London.
Yeah.
So, thanks, Puppy, for having this band on the bill.
So, my number 2 pick, just missing out on the top spot. And I will say, we've already talked about this band and this album, but this album in particular has been in my top 3 for the entire year, which goes to show, I think, kind of how much I've loved this album, how consistent the album is in terms of re-listens, and just, I love this band. And that is Cherim with Take It or Leave It. What else can I say that Rob hasn't already said about this band? I think there's a reason that Taking Up Sports was my most listened to song of the year.
Yeah.
Because it's just that good.
It's really, really
It is incredible. Other standout songs for me, If I Was a Man, Alpha Beta Sigma, which I believe they actually won like an award for in Ireland for like best music video recently.
Oh, did they really?
I think so.
That's really good.
But yeah, and the closing track, It's Not Me, It's You. Like, it's just so good.
Can I just say as well, one thing that also happened quite recently in Ireland for them, which is really cool, is that they got to support Stiff Little Fingers.
They did, yeah. How fucking cool
Stiff
is that?
Little Fingers, legendary Irish punk band from the 70s.
Yeah.
Pretty much the Irish Clash, I would say, is the best way to describe it. I've seen them a few times. Another band that's never ever swayed from their beliefs, you know, and have stuck to their guns. Mm-hmm. I mean, couldn't really think of a perfect match.
No.
More perfect match than those two, you know.
Yeah. But yeah, Cherim for me, like, again, this is a debut album that I've been waiting for a while, because ever since I saw them supporting Nova Twins, I've loved what they stand for, and I love just their whole vibe. You know, if you love like your pop punk, and
but it's pop punk in the kind of more traditional sense. I
For
feel.
sure.
Very 90s influenced kind of alt rock inflected
sure.
pop punk,
yeah, but
which is what I love.
yeah, like as I say, I can't, you know.
Well, we could gush about
recommend this
Cheering.
enough.
We could gush about Cheering for another hour,
Yeah.
I think. But we need to get on to my number
We
one,
do.
which is a band I have probably been gushing on about for an hour.
Yeah,
to
you could easily.
since
you
I've
could
heard the
easily do
record
it.
for hours and hours.
Yes.
This is a special band. This is a band that have gone from strength to strength to strength to strength ever since they released their first album. It's a band I didn't even know about until I saw them at 2000 Trees the first year we went. It's a band that was a last minute replacement for a band that we were due to see. It's a band whose set list I have still in our flat, which consists of a bit of ripped off cardboard
That's
from
right,
a t-shirt
yeah.
box. This band, obviously I'll get some name in a minute, I'm just doing
The whole build up.
I saw this band at Rough Trade, which was celebrating their release of their then album Blending. At the time I thought, my God, this is a ridiculously brilliant record. How the hell are they going to top this? Guess what they've done? So it's High Vis and Guided Tour. This really is a band that puts everything I love about rock music into a melting pot and comes out with what they come out with. You know, you have everything. You've got Britpop influences in there. You've got jangly post-punky guitars. You've got hardcore punk sneering anguish from Graham, lead singer. You've got themes about isolation and kind of trying to survive through modern Britain, you know.
Yeah.
There's no band out there really in Britain at the moment like High Vis, I don't think.
I agree.
Just the way they draw upon retro sounds, put them all in the mixing pot, spew them back out again, and somehow get a brilliant formula. Even when on this album, when they stray from the formula on tracks like Mind's a Lie,
Yeah.
which that was super close to getting my top tune of the year. 'Cause it was a song I didn't get really at first. And I remember talking to Graham about the single at the Teenage Wrist Angel Dust gig. He tells me, oh, well, next single, it's going to be like if UK Garage was sung by the Cocteau Twins. And I was like, that's an interesting prospect, you know, because they haven't done anything like this before. Oh my God, it's a glorious song. It really is. It just so simultaneously beautiful and depressing. It has kind of early 2000s Massive Attack vibes.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know, I could just riff on and on about every song on this album, but all I really will say is, if you're a fan of music, like rock music,
Just music.
rock music, punk rock music, 80s jangly indie rock, Britpop, just please go and listen to this album. Please support this band. I want them to stay a thing for many, many years to come. And that is my album of the year, High Vis
Yeah.
Guided Tour.
Excellent.
Over to
All
you.
right. So my album of the year, and it's a band that we've already spoke about on this podcast, and it's a band that I will continue to speak about on this channel for, several years, I hope. The band I'm talking about is Make Them Suffer with their self-titled album. What can I say about this band that we haven't already said? Epitaph being my favourite song of the year, being on this album. Right in the middle as well. And what I think separates this album from other albums that I've listened to this year is that there's no half of the album that outweighs the other. When you look at it, Doom Switch, Man of God, No Hard Feelings, Ghost of Me, Weaponized to start it off as well. Like, there's so many brilliant, brilliant songs going on here. And just musically, like, the way that they mix, their cleans and their harsh vocals, and they've obviously, they've got that metalcore-esque thing with, like, the electronic side of things, but that doesn't sway away from, the excellent riffs and the brilliant choruses, and
I almost think they've got like a kind of landmarks thing about them as well. I really want to see those two
Apart from the
bands.
rapping,
Well, I want to see those two bands perform together because I reckon that'll be a hell of a show.
that would be one to watch.
One of the biggest things that would make them suffer with me was seeing them live and just seeing how tight knit of you.
They are
Literally,
very, very tight.
You could take my recording of Epitaph
From download.
You would just think it was a studio version. You wouldn't bat an eyelid.
Yeah.
They're so ridiculously tight as a unit.
Yeah, and I love everything that this band do.
But whilst keeping up insane amount of energy as well. That feeds off the crowd as
yeah,
well. So.
absolutely. But yeah, they have like the metalcore, like deathcore vibes for sure. As I say, you know, I think this album is not getting spoken about enough, in my opinion. These guys, I've fallen in love with them in the last year and a half, I would say. Cannot wait to see their headline show, which is going to be a good one to tick off for me in terms of, you know, seeing bands at their own headline shows.
I think it has been a fantastic year for
Yeah,
music. I listened to...
You listened to twice as many albums as me.
I listened to 143 albums this year. That's not even a joke. So
like, there's so many more albums that we could have told.
I just love consuming music, and I love consuming music that's relevant as well.
For sure.
Hopefully I'm going to listen to just as many next year.
Yeah, we'll have
Which brings us to our ones to watch in 2025.
Yes, we're going to talk about 3 bands that we've individually picked, and we've actually picked different bands
we
as
have,
well.
to be fair.
And this is sort of a, like you say, it's ones to watch. So it's going to be bands that we think are going to have a great 2025, just like Not Loose, I guess, in 2024. One of mine might be quite ambitious, but we'll see.
Okay. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So, my 3 bands to watch for next year. Number 3, I've got Marmozets, and this is the one that I'm manifesting a lot.
Yeah.
They continue to tease, and after 7 years at this point, because their last...
Has it really been that long?
Their last record came out in 2018, so it'll be 7 years in 2025.
I had a chance to see him at Download, and I didn't. And to this day, I don't know why.
When Marmozets finally come back, you best believe that I will be front and centre because I love this band. I got to see them 4 times, actually, when they were around. But yeah, they continue to tease that they're coming back. They've obviously signed with a new record label. I think it's just a 4-piece now. I don't know the full details off the top of my head why they're not a 5-piece anymore. But nonetheless, I'm excited because, you know, after the release of their second album, Knowing What You Know Now, you know, Becca went on to get married to Jack and they had a kid. Then COVID happened. So they've had a lot against them, to be fair, as well. But I think that they've still left such a presence in the scene.
They'll be welcomed back with
that they will be welcomed back. And wherever that is, I will be there.
Trees.
I'm manifesting them at Trees or Download. Anyway, my number 2 pick for ones to watch in 2025 are another band that I absolutely love and have gushed about before, and that is Vukovi. I think that next year is going to be a massive year for them with their 4th album coming out, My God Has Got a Gun, in January. They've got massive shows coming up. As I say, I'm going to be seeing them at Kentish Town Forum, which is their biggest ever headline show that they've ever done. And these guys, I've been following them for several years at this point. And I really think that this album is going to be a massive turning point for them in a good way. And yeah, I'm just so excited to see where this release takes them. The singles have been brilliant so far. Misty Ecstasy, I can't even say it right now because I'm just so excited. And their most recent single that came out last week, Snow, incredible. Like, the music video is so beautiful as well. And yeah, I cannot wait to see and hear, obviously, the new record next month. But my number one to watch, you know, like I say, when we talk about bands like Not Loose that have just made such a massive impact on the scene in 2024, I really think that next year, Spirit Box are going to be that band that are going to be at the forefront.
It's going to be the year of Spirit Box.
It's going to be the year of Spirit Box, I think. You know, sold out show at Ali Pali in February, new album in March, Download in June. There's a lot that they've already got lined up for next year.
It's been a while since they released an album, hasn't it?
Well, Eternal Blue came out in 2021.
Exactly.
So,
it will be 4 years since their last one at that point.
They're obviously a band that have just continued to grow in popularity over the years, and for good reason. You know, Courtney is an incredible front woman. Honestly, I think Spirit Box, the way that they are progressing, they could be, you know, future headliners of several festivals for sure.
Excellent. Right. Well, in terms of my picks, I don't know. I kind of came up with these for a multitude of reasons, really. You know, I didn't want to go for the big, obvious ones. You know, I wanted to highlight some of the, you know, understated prospects potentially for next year. Number 3 is a band that hopefully not everyone's forgotten about at this point.
Well, we did see them this year, so...
We saw them this year with Korn and with Spirit Box. It's Loathe. It's been so bloody long since we've had a Loathe album.
Yeah.
And it's getting to the point where I really hope that, you know, their star hasn't faded.
Yeah, I mean, they've been touring a lot this year overseas as well, so that could factor in.
Ever since Connor Sweeney left, they haven't released any new music, which is a bit worrying, really. Because you think that they take the momentum that they had from the incredible I Let It In and It Took Everything, which we've seen in full and is an amazing record.
It's a beautiful album.
But they can't keep dining out on that forever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As much as I love that band, they need to actually go in the studio and roll something out. Right, number 2, Split Chain. This is a band that we saw at Download and at Trees.
Well, you saw them at Download and Trees. I just saw them at Trees.
They haven't released an album yet. They're only going on the strength of singles, not even EPs. I don't think they've even released an EP yet.
I think you're right, yeah.
But already, I could tell the moment that they drop an album, I'm going to love the hell out of it.
I think so, yeah.
And I think there has been plenty of buzz being generated around this band. They've got lots of great endorsees, you know. Not to mention, they're super nice guys.
Yeah.
As well. I had a quick chat with them at 2000 Trees and really cool guy. Another super talented bunch of people from Bristol, which again, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, the Ragamuffins have interviewed them as well and, you know, they seem like really humble, cool guys. Interesting in that the front man of the band, the singer, has ditched the guitar. He's not playing his guitar anymore. He's just going to concentrate on being out front vocally. But I can tell you who I'm guaranteed is going to do well. Mark my words. People.
Yeah.
Once they release that elusive first album, the world's going to be their oyster, I think.
Yeah.
I think really they're just going to keep going from strength to strength, you know.
Yeah.
Even though obviously, you know, they've lost Meg, which is a massive blow. I think they're an incredibly talented bunch of people, and I think if any band can pull off best debut album of 2025, then these lot can.
Yeah.
Obviously, if they release.
If they release the debut album next year. So yeah, I guess we're going to close out this end of year podcast. Let's talk about now sort of our sort of plans for next year. You know, looking at future albums, future gigs, what we want to do with the channel next year, I guess.
Pretty much, yeah. So next year is looking pretty stacked, I would say, already.
Yeah, already. Yeah.
In terms of records, there hasn't been many that have been announced, but we've got a new Killswitch album, which I'm stoked for. Probably my favourite metal band of all time, Killswitch Engage.
Yeah.
You love them as well.
I love Killswitch.
We got to meet them at Bloodstock
yeah.
Last year, and it was amazing. Single was really, really good.
It was. Yeah, we've not even spoken about that yet, obviously.
No.
But yeah, we're looking at, you know, what releases we've got coming up. As I say, for Covey, we've got a new Lacuna Coil album in February. Spirit Box, obviously, in March. Bleed From Within have a new album in April. I think April's looking pretty good.
Landmarks as well. New album. That could be really interesting for them.
Yeah, we haven't spoken about Landmarks much on this podcast, but yeah.
Well, in terms of albums that we're hoping for, I'm hoping for a new Deftones. Because that's also long overdue. Obviously, we talked about Loathe and Higher Power. I'm hoping Bob Mould is going to come out with a new album pretty soon, because he's already been playing several new songs live over the course of this year. And let's face it, with, you know, shall we just say, American politics.
Yeah.
He's, you know,
there might be some
his
things
voice
to
will be
out.
relevant again.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
sure.
Dinosaur Pile Up, I'm really hoping are going to come back. Matt obviously has been on Instagram detailing his struggles with Crohn's disease.
Yeah.
My heart absolutely goes out to him. It's a horrible affliction. I know a couple of people that have it. You know, it doesn't sound like a picnic. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I miss Dinosaur Pile Up to death, though. I think
They're an incredible live band.
They're an incredible live band, and Celebrity Mansions was just amazing. Oasis, obviously they're doing their big dates at Wembley, which are all sold out, for fuck's sake. I really would love to go and see Oasis. Oasis, push comes to shove, I think they're one of the most important bands in my whole life. They're the band that made me want to start writing and recording music. They're probably the first rock band I ever listened to, along with Green Day.
Yeah. I guess one more album that I want to talk about before we talk about like gigs and stuff. Employed to Serve. Recently they announced that they've got a new single coming out in January. And they're going to be talking about their new album, and headline shows are put. And I'm very excited to see what Employed to Serve have got up their sleeves. Conquering, when you talk about albums, how long it's been. You wouldn't think that Conquering's going to be 4 years old next year. But they're a band that obviously I absolutely adore. They're going to be at Trees next year, so I'm excited to hear the new stuff, and obviously that they'll be able to play it at Trees, and who knows, I'll probably catch them on their headline show as well.
The last band I do want to talk about very quickly is Fear Factory. Again,
yes.
I mentioned this earlier. New lead singer, new fresh outlook on life, and on music. I can't wait to hear any recorded studio output from them.
Yeah, I'm very excited as well. Obviously, I'm not as an older fan as you are. I'm more of a newer fan of Fear Factory, but sure. I absolutely love what he's done. When you compare the studio original versions to what he's doing live, it's flawless, really. It's incredible.
Couldn't have picked a better replacement as far as I'm concerned. Right, in terms of gigs that we've got coming up next year...
Yeah, my calendar is way more fuller than yours, I'm just going to say that.
Well, like I said, we're seeing Slipknot tomorrow in Birmingham, and if that ends up being my gig of the year, then we'll have to redo the whole podcast.
We'll have to, just put an asterisk when I'm editing this.
Yeah. Then we've got One Step Closer.
We do.
At New River Studios, which will be amazing.
Yep, that'll be our first gig of 2025.
Yes.
We then have Ithaca, which is sadly going to be their final ever show.
I'm so sad about that. Honestly, they had such a promising kind of career ahead of them after that second album.
Yeah, and then obviously, as we've already mentioned, we're going to be seeing Spirit Box at Ali Pali. We've got Green Lung and Unto Others at Kentish Town
That
Forum.
might be one of my most anticipated gigs of the year, Green Lung and Unto Others, because we've got so many mates coming with us.
I feel like in terms of our channel going forwards, I think we're going to have to start doing vlogs of individual gigs moving forward.
Potentially,
because I think that the Green Lung and Two Others one's going to be quite a bumper one on its own, let alone all the other stuff that we've got going on.
If you guys have any ideas for how we can improve the channel going forward, then we'd love to hear it, in the comments.
For sure. And then in terms of gig vlogs, you're going to be resting on me for a little bit, I think, because I've got Vukovi in March, I have Yumi at 6 in April. I'm also pending my Harriet ticket for April as well. I've got Make Them Suffer in May on the 17th at the Islington Academy. We're then going to be seeing Panic Shack. Cannot wait to see them at their own show. It's been long overdue. I'm also seeing Baby Metal in May.
And hopefully you'll actually get a full set.
And I should get a full set. I'm going to be seeing Bambi Fug and Poppy as well that evening. It's going to be crazy. And then, of course, before we know it, festival season will be coming along, so... We'll probably be doing our packing lists, sort of, in future podcasts discussing who we're going to be seeing. At the moment, our concrete plan is 2,000 Trees and Bloodstock.
We have definitely got tickets for those.
We have we've both paid our tickets pretty much for those.
So we are definitely... Guys, I cannot wait to show you our experience of Bloodstock. That is by far my most anticipated thing.
I think, I'm very much excited to go back to
However,
Park.
with the news of Green Day headlining Download, we may have to do at least one day.
Yeah, I think...
We already said this.
We mentioned this before. We're definitely going to be doing at least the Green Day. Whether it's going to be any more than that, I'm not sure. It's going to totally depend on other factors. We're absolutely going to be sacking off Slam Dunk this year, sadly, which is quite a sad one for me, actually, because ever since 2019, I've been to every single Slam Dunk, and this is the first year that I'm going to be skipping it.
Well, just there's a multitude of reasons, really, isn't there? But,
we've got other things outside of music that we want to do next year, towards the end of 2025, which we won't allude to just yet in case it doesn't happen for whatever reason. But we've got lots of other stuff that we're going to be eyeing up and doing. And obviously, you know, as more gigs and stuff get announced, like I just said, with the Employed to Serve announcement, they're probably going to be playing somewhere locally, so I want to do that. But
Yeah, there's all sorts of things really that we're hoping for next year. But yeah, just keep subscribed to the channel.
Yeah,
And
because
you'll
there
find
might
out
be
more.
there might be some like surprises. You know, we've not spoke about any other festivals that might sway us next
That we're
year,
eyeing up, yeah.
like you know, Outbreak, Burn It Down.
Outbreak, Burn It Down.
But obviously, with Outbreak being the same weekend as Download, that might have to be
Why did they have to put the London on the same day as Green Day? That's
I know.
so annoying.
absolutely crazy.
Right, well, I think we'll wrap it up there then.
Yes, absolutely. It's been a bumper episode to conclude.
And it's also been
2024.
and it's been a bumper year as well. And on a personal note, wholeheartedly, thank you everyone that has supported our channel so far this year. Like, we would have just packed it in if not for, you know, the support of
Yeah.
some of you guys out there.
Yeah.
You know, my real hope for next year is that we really get more people involved in this channel,
Absolutely.
be it listeners of our podcast or watchers of our vlogs. I'm hoping we get to at least 100 subscribers.
I would love that, like to get to 100 subscribers before like festival season.
So keep spreading the word. Just, you know, say, do you
Yeah.
like music? Do you like people who go to concerts and
Yeah.
people who talk interesting shit about music? Well, I presume that we're interesting.
I hope we are.
I might be really fucking boring, so I'm sorry about that.
But yeah, there's definitely some things on our end that we'll also try and get done
Yeah.
in 2025.
I really would love to collaborate more with the Ragamuffins guys, with the Dear Download lot.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more that we still need to do on this channel, but obviously, you know, this isn't a full-time thing for us. You
No,
know, we
it
both
really
have
isn't.
9-to-5s and
Yeah, we've worked incredibly hard on this content for you this year, so
Yeah.
it really does mean the world that
Absolutely.
if you take the time to check us out,
yeah.
you know, and we're really grateful.
Yeah. And all that's left to say is that I'm Laura
Now I'm Rob.
and we've been the Alt Pulse Project.
Yay! And we will see you in 2025.
Yes.
Have a very Merry Christmas
Have
and a Happy New Year.
Yes, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays if you don't celebrate Christmas. And we will see you in 2025 for more amazing adventures and stuff.
Yay!